This week, Trade Archery 101, we'll talk about arrow spine, and maybe something you don't know. Hey everybody, welcome to Trade Archery 101. Greg here. Alright, arrow spine, right? Voodoo science. And an art in which the members can be obsessed over the smallest of details. The spine of the arrow is one in which there's more gray areas than any others. You know, that's what we're going to talk about today. The spine. Two types, as we all know, static and dynamic. And you talk about real voodoo, well, let's talk about dynamic. All right, but today we're going to focus on static spine. And all spine is a rating on how much an arrow will bend. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. But how do you get to that number? Well, that's where the story is. So right off the bat, how confusing can it get? It all starts with what material you're using for your arrow. We have many different rating methods. There's one for wood, there's one for aluminum, and then there's multiple for carbons, right? 3 different materials, about 5 to 6 different rating methods. Talking about confusion, this is it. So before we go on, we got to talk about the background of this. You know, for centuries, we don't even know if they rated the arrows. We're pretty sure they didn't. But I'm also pretty sure somebody did, because that's just a human way of doing things, right? So this story involves 2 different bodies. The first one is the AMADA. Probably never heard of them, huh? It's the Archery Manufacturers and Dealers Association. Haven't heard that. But you might have heard this name. They later changed their name to the AMO, the Archery Manufacturers Organization, a term AMO still used today. But it doesn't end there, because they changed their name yet again to the ATA, the Archers Trade Association. Now this group here, they represent the manufacturers, dealers, distributors, and all that. So they're a very influential group. And the second body is the ASTM, the American Society for Testing of Materials. Now they changed their name because they wanted to sound more international to the ASTM International. Ooh, big change right there, boys and girls. All right. So for the longest time, everybody used the ASTM testing method, right? They used it, it was set, it was good. But then came the AMO. And the AMO, when they changed their name and they got together, they wanted set standards of everything. And they did a great job. They took 22 different things and they standardized it all out. Now, for whatever reason, and it's probably just being an American, when it came to spine testing, they had to be different than ASTM. They couldn't do it the same way, and the changes are different. Very small little differences, but again, why? When you look at the 2 testing methods, they're both measured in 1/1000th of an inch. More on that later. But neither use the same distance or the same weight. And the story of the weight is actually pretty interesting. Now they claim, the story goes, that ASTM used a 2-pound weight. Well, the people at Easton, makes a lot of arrows, they didn't really check their weight. Their weight wasn't by pounds, it was metric and grams. So technically it wasn't, when they did theirs and they pushed it through to everybody, wasn't a 2-pound weight, it was a 1.98 or 880 grams, something like that. So just goes to show you, those little details. The guys at Easton, that's what they were using. They were testing, they were doing it. They never thought about seeing if it complied with this. Right? And this is where it gets good. So these 2 competing methods. A little different. Just confusion abounds. But then, in 2023, the ASTM standard was dropped in favor of the ATA. Yay! Unification! Here's where it gets good. Think about this. So from 2023 and earlier, you have 2 different methods. How do you know which one your arrow was tested on? Was it ASTM or was it ATA? Duh. One's 26 inches, the other's 28 inches. Which made me think, why did they change from 26 to 28? You know, and then I'm also thinking, well, wait. You know, I shoot 30 and 32 inch arrows. Now, common sense tells you a longer object should bend more than a shorter one. So how can a 500 spine at 26 be a 500 spine at 28 and be a 500 spine at 30 or 32? It can't. It's just, no, it has to bend more. Physics, all that stuff is well beyond my pay grade that I know a little bit about, very little, tells me it's not right. So all these questions running in my head, you know, I wanted to test it. So I looked it up, figured out how they tested, and it's real simple. AMO, oh wait, no, ATA, there you go, 2023, 26 inches with a 2-pound weight in the middle. Pretty simple, right? And then you measure the deflection. If it's 0.4 inches, it gives us arrow spine of 400, right? Pretty simple. Now here's the weird part. They say that's how you do wood arrows. But I know you know for a fact, we both know for a fact, they don't sell wood arrows that way. They sell wood arrows by pounds, 35, 45, 45, 55. Why? If all arrows can be measured this way, why don't we do it all this way? And then let's throw in aluminum. Aluminum is the diameter plus the wall thickness of the arrow. What? Who thought that's a good method? Right? So there's just too many. We need to simplify things. Standardize. Oh, wait, they've been trying to standardize, but we can't standardize. It just keeps going crazy. So I want some semblance of order here. This is what I'm going to do. Built me a rig. I'm going to test my arrow at 26, 28, and 30. Unfletched, nothing in it. Let's see if there's a difference. And if there is, I wonder how much. Then I'm going to do a fletched arrow. I'm going to do types. Like, I have the glue-in inserts like this. I mean, it's not that deep in. But look at that compared to that, huh? These might actually change the spine of your arrow because it's stiffening it up. And theoretically, isn't that like shortening it? So a lot of stuff going on here, and I just want to get some answers, right? So, let's get to testing. Here's my setup. It's real simple. Piece of wood, some hooks, bought a 2-pound weight from Three Rivers, and 26, 28, and 30, right? This is ASA, AMO, ATA, whatever, standards. So, put on my glasses so I can read. Now, I didn't do it in thousandths of an inch. I don't have that ability to measure that. So I just did regular inches. I got a, what's like a 1.5 inch, I'm sorry, 1/2 inch deflection. Mine's bending 1/2 inch. Now, 800 spine, 1/2 inch. Still got room to go. So if I did the thousandths, wouldn't that be 500 spine? I don't know. I really don't. So there you have it. All right. Now, let's set it up for 28 inches. 28 inches. And guess what? Science is real. It bends more. Not a whole lot, but it bends more. It is almost, it was 1/2 inch. I'd say it's about a 1/16 to an 1/8 more. If I did this, it'd be a 3/4. So it's in between the two. I should have done metric because I can't stand fractions. You know, millimeters is a whole lot easier. 4, 5, 6, 7, 16, 30 seconds, blah, blah, blah. So it's pretty much halfway between a 1/2 inch and 3/4, which is who knows what. I can't remember right now. I hate English. All right. Let's see what she does at 30. 30 inches. And guess what? It dropped about the same amount, but roughly, I'd have to say 1/8 of an inch. But now it's all the way down to 3/4, right? So there you have it. It went from a half to what that is in between. I really should look that up. And then 3/4 of an inch. So if you're thinking that you're shooting an 800 spine measured at 26, you're not. Right? That's with a 32-inch arrow. My 32-inch arrow is not 800 spined at 26 inches. So you might be buying, depending on how your arrow was tested, the wrong spine. But there it is. So now we know that it does. It's true. But I'm curious, does a fully fletched one measure any differently? Full fletched arrow with one of these long inserts and no effect. Fletching it had no effect on it. It is right same spot as it was before. So that answers that question. Put in your inserts and your fletching it does not affect static spine. That pretty much was a duh. It does, I know, have to affect your dynamic spine because feathers is drag and drag is everything blah 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 blah. Alright, so there you have it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them on my computer, overlap them, and let's see if we can show you the visible difference between all three. Alright everybody, here's the last story to help illustrate spine for you. I'm shooting an indoor archery circuit here in Louisiana. It goes throughout the state. And in it, my primary bow delaminated. So I had to use a different bow. I picked up the Coyote Hunter from Hitman Archery. 35-pound bow, it's a takedown. And I went out and shot these arrows right here. These are Cross-X Hurricane Octagons. These are 900 spine, 32-inch length, 4mm arrows with a total weight of 298 grain. 3-inch feathers, 125 up front, right? Shot that and I shot a 230. Not my best, but because it was last minute, I was happy. So while I was shooting, I noticed a few things. I go, you know what, I want to try something. So I decided to switch my arrows up the next week. And I went with these. My Gold Tip Traditional 600 spine, 30-inch, 438 grain point with a 145 grain, total weight, 145 grain point, and at the time I had 5-inch feathers, right? I shot at 230. Two totally different bows, 6mm, 4mm, 298, 438, 600 spine, 900 spine, 32-inch, 30-inch. 125 grain point, 145 grain point. Shot the exact score. No changes in bow setup, no changes in my draw cycle or anything like that. So I have two wildly different arrows and I shot the exact same score, 230. Right? There you go. Did it matter? Right? I tried something and I got the exact same result. Which, you know, definition insanity, doing the same thing over and over expecting different results. Well, I did different things and got the same result. So what does it mean? Take it for what you want. You read into it what you want. What I realized was, you know what, I'm overthinking it. I'm just going to keep working. So I'm going with the 600s. And I went down to 3-inch feathers, went down to a 125 grain point, and I'm doing a few other things, changing my knock points and things like that, and we're going to see how that goes. All right. Arrow spine, so it does change. We know that for a fact, right? So, what spine are you shooting?